wonder why theater kids are so afraid to say in a theater? Me too. So I decided to find out. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and you are at the home of the Forever Theater Kid, where today I am getting spooky and I am getting creepy and I'm getting very interested in talking about superstitions that are in the theater. Today, we're getting super specific with one particular superstition today, probably the greatest superstition in all of theater land and all of Broadway land and all of that industry that none of us have seen for 6 months. Today we are talking about superstition and the wildly believed curse of the Scottish play. I'm just superstitious enough that I'm gonna just start calling it the Scottish play. So if you are interested in superstitions, and especially this one today, let's get into it. Please make sure that you subscribe to my channel because I am bringing you more and more theater content, and I really want to start bringing more videos like this. So let's see how this one does. And make sure you follow me on Instagram as well. I pull you guys all the time on video ideas. I really want you to be involved with my channel as much as possible. And honestly, I just want to jump into the deep end. I'm terrified because I've never done anything like this on my channel before. So let's get into it. All your Shakespeare friends, like, turn the heat down for a second, let your booty simmer just for a hot second. Really quickly, I'm just gonna tell our friends who might not know about Shakespeare all that much, I'm just gonna like give them a teensy tiny little like BB background story on what is. I myself love Shakespeare, but I'm probably not a Shakespeare connoisseur, Shakespeare nerd. I just enjoy it. So yeah, if there's anything that I'm wildly getting wrong, watch the video, keep watching. Just fact check me, get angry, write your comments down there, and just give me a lot of engagement. That's all I need. Okay, so what is a play? Thank you, goodbye. It's a play written by Shakespeare. It was written in 1606, and it is one of the most popular Shakespeare plays to be performed in all of Shakespeare's canon. Since it has been so wildly popular over the years, especially when it first came out back in like the 16 times, when a theater was when their like rep season was going like particularly badly and ticket sales weren't coming in and people were like, ew, don't go see that show, it sucks. They were like, bring it on in. It's like now when people are like, let's do Beauty and the Beast, let's save her. Like back then they would do, they probably still do now as like a way to like save a company from destruction if COVID didn't hit. Now it's just like, just bring in a show, bring in any show. Then you would do stuff like Bat Boy, which is like weird and like quirky, and then they're like, who cares if it brings in money? But yeah, here on out, I think I'm going to refer it as the Scottish play. Why? Because that's what we call it in the theater. Some of the most notable productions of the Scottish play are Laurence Olivier's, well, aside from like the OG. The other notable productions are Laurence Olivier's production in 1955. It was so popular, people have said it was just like he was touched by something, like he was so good. You transcended time. Did he transcend the curse? Oh no, we'll talk about that a little later. According to an article in Culture Trip, the 10 greatest productions of Macbeth of all time include Laurence Olivier, Sir Trevor Nunn in 1976, Peter Gould in 2007. Oh, Peter Gould's production, starring the incredible Patrick Stewart as the Scottish King. Yukio Ninjagawa in 1980.
I was close, I think. It's pronounced Yukio Ninagawa. I put a J in there.
Of course, Orson Welles in 1948, and many, many others. It's a very, very popular play. It's supposed to be one of the most daunting Shakespearean plays, hence like, oh my gosh, why do you want to do it? But that makes it even more popular and even more exciting to do for the cast and the crew, and it's something that you always know is going to get butts in seats, and it's going to get money. When Shakespeare was creating this play, he really wanted to appease King James of England. He was Queen Bee. He was just like, I tell you, if I don't like what you make, I'm gonna close your theater down and make me something I want, something that I like. Shakespeare was like, I heard at a party King James like is super into ghosts and super into like spooky shit. And they're like, oh my god, King James loves spooky season. And Shakespeare was like, King James loves spooky season. Just like give him like all the feels, give him all the vibes, give him just like some like, oh my God, I'm like so scary. Like I don't want to look behind the door. So he wrote a play that's centered around magic and witches. People don't like witches, especially back then. People didn't like witches. They were scared. They were terrified. People are still terrified. Like white dudes in power like did not like a witch. They were scared. They were like, oh my God, that old crone, like she's empowered by her own self and she's got like things to say to me that could like affect my future. I'm scared of her. But like Shakespeare was just like, no, like King James is gonna love what I do. Like it doesn't even matter. Like I'm gonna make him something so delicious, so amazing. He's gonna love it. Shakespeare brought on some ladies. There were actual witches at the time. He was just like, girls, like, oh my God, I know you're like making a super cute soup right now, but like, I just like need a little help. And the women were just like, what do you want? What do you want? I'm making oils. What do you want? I need some of your like favorite lines. Just like help me. And the ladies were just like, fine, but you have to do it our way. Shakespeare's like, am I right? Totally. Like, come on. I'll citation you. Like, there'll be like little one next to your like lines and it'll be at the bottom. I'll give you like a full history lesson down below. And the ladies are like, all right. Seems like he respects us. If you don't know, opens. It's with the lines, the incantations of said wishes. Now, is it the exact things that these like ladies told him? That's what we don't know. So like you may have heard these lines in also Hocus Pocus or other things in which like witchcraft is like talked about. So the lines go double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, like those lines. Now, it's said that those are real incantations, but there's talks, there's suspicions. That's not what the witches said. That's not what they gave him. Those are not the lines. He mixed them up, he jumbled them, he appropriated them, he took what he wanted and he made what he wanted and he was like, that's super cute, like I don't even need the history, like it's cool, like just give me the words that rhyme because those are the cutest ones to like string together. It totally matches my couplets, like matches everything. And they're just like, thank you. You basically stole culture from us and you just put it in the beginning of your show and it's nothing like something we'd actually say. That sounds very familiar. The witches are pissed. So it's said they put a curse on the show that if you do this, if you do these incantations and you don't respect it, we're gonna mess you up. Because guess what? It means something. And Shakespeare's like, what? Sorry, can't hear you. Like King James was so afraid of this and so afraid of witches and so afraid of like what was going to happen to him if he saw this show. There's like too much like female ambition, there's too much female empowerment, there's too much happening. The king was just like, can't perform that. I don't want that. I don't want that ish near me. The idea is that they either cursed the show. They didn't want anybody else doing the show. So curse on the show would make sure nobody does it. Well, people still do it. As Sir Patrick Stewart said in a really awesome like video interview, there's a language threaded throughout the play, either through the incantations or through just the text itself, that's very dark and sinister and evokes evil. And hence by speaking that language, creates the curse every time you do the show. So that's the idea. Let's do the show as much as possible. What do we do about it today, hey? Because the show is still being done. The show is still wildly popular. The show is good. It's a show that's like so centered around anxiety and fear and ambition and what you will do to get what you want and what fear-based mongering will get you. It will only get you more pain and destruction. It is a very thick text. Have I ever seen it? No. I've heard great things. With the history that came along with the play, people have formed a huge superstition. Superstition is that you are not, I repeat, not allowed to say in a theater unless you are performing the show in the theater. People don't even say it in rehearsals. People are so rooted in this curse, in this superstition, that they won't even say it in rehearsals. They'll say the Scottish play, the Scottish king, the Scottish queen. They won't say the hey. I'm even a little nervous to say it because technically, this room, this camera, this channel is my stage right now. I don't want anything bad to happen to me, so I'm scared. I learned it in college. I started hearing about this superstition in college. I have a very vague memory. I remember someone during some kind of rehearsal, someone saying, oh yeah, you can't say that. That's why we call it the Scottish play. And I was like, what? You can't say make. My director kicked me out of rehearsals and told me I couldn't come back in until I did the antidote. There's a prescription for that? Yeah. If you're in a rehearsal or you're in a theater and it happens to slip out of your mouth and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know, oh my God. Don't worry, we have an antidote. Number 1, get out. Go outside. Number 2, there's a couple of different variations of this. So this is what I gathered. You spin around 3 times, you spit, you curse loudly, then you say a line from any other Shakespearean show. Most popular to say a line from either Hamlet or even more popular, Midsummer Night's Dream. Because, as Sir Patrick Stewart told us in this video that I watched of him, unlike do I say it or don't I? I don't know. Unlike the Scottish play that has a threaded language of evil and darkness written into the text, Midsummer Night's Dream has just as much magic, but in written language is that of light and benevolence and purity. So it undoes the bad that you just did by bringing the essence of the Scottish play into your safe space. So a really popular one to do is, if we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here whilst these visions did appear. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends. I know I skipped ahead, but that's my favorite line. I don't know if I like believe, but I'm not gonna press my luck, so. That's what you do to make sure you undo the crap that you did. Because these people, what I'm gonna talk about next, didn't do that. And that's why a lot of shit happened. People have fallen down trapdoors, run into things and badly injured themselves. People have gotten wildly sick. It was a big legend that on the opening night of the first ever production of the Scottish play, that the man who was playing Lady Scottish play, it was rumored that he got wildly sick and died like hours before the production. Who had to like showgirls her ass like right on into there? Shakespeare himself was meant to have played Lady MacBeth in the very first production of the show. Apparently it's been disproven and that like it was just said to like sell for some pamphlets. I mean, regardless, Shakespeare like showgirls himself right on in, was like, I'm gonna go perform in front of the king. And the king was like, I don't like witches. Shut this shit down. So it wasn't a great idea. Many actors and crew members and people involved in the shows have become greatly affected by the show. There have been huge accidents, car accidents, deaths, and maybe they weren't directly correlated to the show, but they happened at the same time that the show was happening. Most notably, that I at least picked up, was in the production that I mentioned earlier, Laurence Olivier. Now this was like Laurence Olivier's like one of his like first big roles, and Laurence Olivier had just done I think Richard III, and they were like, oh my God, get him to do the Scottish play, and he's like, okay, cool. So apparently one night during one of the big sword scenes, during one of the big sword fights, Olivier's sword broke and went into the audience, and it hit an audience member. No, the sword didn't like Final Destination the poor man, but it scared him just enough that he had a heart attack and died in the theater. In the same production, this production was cursed as. In the same production, the director and his wife, who was playing the Scottish Queen, got into a car accident and died on the way to the theater one night before one of the shows. I don't like when Daisy starts growling when I talk about curses and shit. It scares me. It's okay. We're fine. This production was done at the Old Vic in England. There was like the theater dog, the dog that everybody like loved in the theater. Was run over by a car. Sucks and is really sad. Before opening night, Olivier got extremely sick and lost his voice. And like, if you're playing the lead and you lose your voice, and back then they weren't wearing microphones on stage, so it was like all about projection. Can't do the show. They probably didn't have standbys and swings and stuff like that back then. Or at least the person probably wasn't prepared to go on opening night. A stage weight fell and almost killed Olivier. Like, this production was cursed. Like, that's terrifying. Oh my God, I'm cursed. Like, that production should have halted. Guys, it's been fun, but I'm good. I'm good, thanks so much. Thank you so much. One of the most famous and most notable tragedies to be associated with the Scottish play is the Astor Palace riot. This was like one of the biggest riots to happen in early America. It happened in May 10th, 1849. It was said to have been one of the biggest civilian casualties since the Revolutionary War. Between 22 and 31 rioters died and were killed. Many more were hurt and injured. This happened at the Astor Opera House, which has been since torn down. It took place basically like Midtown, Uptown area. And basically that riot led to more militarization of police in New York City. It's probably the first instances of riot gear being worn by police officers in New York City. Happy 2020. Is Shakespeare to blame? Well, he's not to blame. The riot happened because basically, this makes me so mad. It's basically like a riot of the dueling Macbeths. Let the women do the work. Well, we did. Maybe that's why all this was happening. Because we're so powerful. The Scottish play was happening in two different areas of the city. It was happening in like Broadway area, and it was happening downtown. New York, like uptown and downtown, were very, very different places. Very, very different groups of people. You had aristocrats. You had aristocrats, people who were old money, Rockefellers, the titans of industry living uptown, while you had the working class people and the more like normal day-to-day people living more downtown, and then the surrounding boroughs. Each kind of belonged to different areas of the city. So there was Edward Forrest, who was American, they call him the homegrown star of the working class. And you had William Charles Macready, who was English born, very classy. He was very well versed in Shakespeare. He was kind of one of like the stars of the Shakespeare scene in England at the time, and had come over and been invited over to perform in the United States. And old money and rich. And so you had working class versus the upper class. Tensions are starting to build, and just because New York was and is still full of tension between societal pressures, basically became like a Mean Girl situation of who was the best actor to play the role, because there's not enough space for two men. There's not. You can only have one. So they fought and killed people over it. From my understanding, Edward Forrest kind of like gathered all of his dudes and was just like, hey Macready, you suck. And Macready's like, can I just go? Can I just like go back home to England? No, you need to stay. Like, we'll pay you so much more money. Like, just stay and like perform. And like those like poor people like are not gonna come back. There were instances of like working class people like kind of buying out the top of theaters and like throwing food onto the stage and booing Macready while he was doing. And then it was just a mess. So they basically had like a big old fight before one of the shows at the Opera House. Like working class people came up and fought. We had like police officers that were hired and brought in by the upper class, and they just like fought and innocent people died. What? Over a casting choice? Y'all, chill out. We'll play Seussical next season. Everybody chill. And people attribute that to the curse, honestly. They don't attribute that to people's pride and wanting to be the best and having no class. No, they attribute it to the curse. Scottish play, probably out of all of Shakespeare's works, has the most bloodshed, has the most sword fights to happen in a show. So with more sword fights comes more instances of accidental stabbings. Apparently there was another guy who just like was like, I'm mad at my guy I'm fighting, so I'm actually not gonna use a prop. I'm gonna use a real knife. That happened a couple times. Apparently in Charles Heston's open production of the Scottish play in Bermuda, choice, kerosene was put on his tights and it burned his like little baby skin, like in his little private areas. So he was wildly uncomfortable. I think that was kind of like putting vodka, like a vodka mixture to clean costumes in between uses. But like kerosene is like not vodka. So like he learned pretty quickly that that was not a great idea. He also got wildly hurt in a motorcycle accident before opening night. Who said the name there? Who said it? Hasty. Was it you? Get outside, turn around, spit. According to Sir Patrick Stewart, which is like anything he says I'm probably gonna believe, we are a very superstitious breed of human. We are. I think it's because so much of our industry is not within our control. So when things really go wrong, we need something to blame it on. Now, are there things that like, I believe in this? I'm not gonna be dumb and say no. So yeah. But also, like, to the extent where you blame every single circumstance on the curse, no. Because then that takes accountability away from people who just, you know, I don't know, boys, maybe stop fighting over the fact that both of you are playing the Scottish King. Get over it. That's more about accountability to me. That's not about a curse. Wait, I just thought of something. Is part of the curse that, like, it's so wildly popular, and so it's done in more places because it brings in more money, and people are so greedy and money hungry that they will always bring in the Scottish play in order to bring in money to the theater. But that's what the witches wanted, because that means it's going to be done more, which means more people will be hurt, which means more of the curse to be continued. Love a girl. Very interesting. I'm sure there's so much that I left out. That's as much as I could fit in my brain. That's the curse of the Scottish play. Don't be dumb and say it in a theater or in a studio. Just don't be dumb. Number one, you're gonna piss a lot of people off. Even if you don't believe it, you're just gonna piss off a lot of actors, a lot of directors. Even if it's not real, like, people don't wanna test their luck. They don't want their production that they've put a lot of money and time and effort into being destroyed because you're being a little dumb and decided, I wanna be cool and say the M word. My ass got kicked out of a rehearsal, and I was told that day, don't you say that in my rehearsal room. And I was like, okay. Well, now I know, Emily, you were a little asshole, you dum-dum. So that is the curse of the Scottish play. That is why we have that superstition, and I don't think that superstition is going away anytime soon. I hope you like this video. This is new for me. I'm really interested in true crime and paranormal and just like spookies kinds of stuff. And not only this time of year, like right now it's October and it's very exciting. I just like that kind of stuff. I always have. I've always enjoyed being kind of scared. I've always enjoyed true crime. Like, I am a true crime fanatic, and I really wanted to somehow bring that to you. I was greatly inspired to do these videos by two women in particular. For the video aspect, I was really inspired by, I spoke about her in one of my previous videos, Cydnee Black. She does makeup and history videos, and also by Bailey Sarian, who does murder mystery makeup Mondays, where she talks about true crime and does her makeup, while Cydnee talks about moments in history and sometimes true crime and also does her makeup, and both of them are chef's kiss, amazing. All the sources from where I got my interpretations of the information will be listed down below. The videos I watched, the podcasts I listened to, the articles I read, that will all be in the description bar below. So if you want to fact check me, or if you just like want to read up on it yourself and just kind of like get a little history of it, go for it. That's where it's gonna be. I hope you like this. I think I'm gonna do a couple more of these because I really enjoy doing them. So follow along. Tell me down below, what are some of your favorite superstitions in the theater? Because we got a lot of them. And are there any that you swear by? Tell me. I'm really curious. I've always been really interested in this part of the theater because it's very weird and we're all a bunch of weirdos. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. I mean, if you like them a lot, I'll keep bringing them to you. And follow me on Instagram so you can maybe even know which other videos are going to come next, or poll, or if you ever want to give me an idea on a video, my DMs are always open for you. I'll see y'all in my next video. Send me your hands if we be friends, and Rob and Shell, Astor amends. Okay, I'm gonna do the antidote right now because I said it a lot. So, I'm kicking myself out of our theater, which is the... Spin around 3 times. 2. Put it over my shoulder. Or is it my left? I don't know. Curse. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Rob and Shell, Astor amends. And then this is the last part. Am I allowed to come back in? Can I come back in now?
Yes.
We're okay. And that's it.